T-minus 3, 2, 1, 0.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Launch Sequence podcast. If you're wondering why I'm wearing the same shirt as I was in the last show, that's because that show was an hour ago. It's a busy day. Today, though, I've got a very exciting topic. I put out a video on Space Tomato 2. We went over the 2024 financial report from Star Citizen. Every time they release a financial report, it comes out 1 year after that year ended. So we get 2024. But we got some interesting things there, from another $10 million loan coming from investors to a exercisable put option that's currently active for the investors to $5 million in the bank from CIG. So I brought in an actual financial expert to talk about the things that I only pretend to know about so that we can get the real information in a way that you guys can understand. Skylark, thank you so much for joining me today, dude.
Hello,
How you
everyone.
doing?
Thank you. Thanks for having me on.
Of course.
I don't know about expert. I just do it as my day job.
He just does it professionally.
So I guess so. You could say it like that.
Call it what you will. But you also you create content. Why don't you introduce yourself to the folks and like what else you're doing in Star Citizen besides just money?
Sure. So I'm Skylark _ SC on most of my socials. I'm mainly a short creator. Actually, I'm only really a short creator. I do a little streaming every now and then. Naturally, my day job in finance kind of keeps me a little bit busy, so streaming has been very sporadic the last couple months. And I apologize for that if any of my viewers are watching. But I mainly focus on short content. So I'm mainly on TikTok. But over the last couple months, I have been posting on YouTube. So if you're a YouTube only person, I understand that TikTok's not for everyone. I do post on YouTube as well. I have to be a little bit better with that, though, to be honest.
We don't do quite as cool dances on YouTube.
No TikTok dances yet. I have not done a TikTok Star Citizen dance yet. Maybe if there's a live CitizenCon one of these days, I'll go over there. I'll ask Chris Robbins, hey, you want to do a TikTok dance video? I'm sure he'll be ecstatic to do it.
I feel like the Star Citizen community is like the perfect group of people to do a TikTok dance competition. We love that stuff.
It is kind of funny being, first of all, an ultra niche like TikTok creator, and then on top of that, I would say the general population of Star Citizen probably isn't that big into TikTok, so it is.
I don't think
it's
so.
a very interesting platform where I decided to make my major as my main.
I mean, over time, if this game does work out, if they find success, it won't really matter where you are, right? There will be people interested in finding it out, and TikTok's a pretty big platform as long as they don't drive it into the ground.
Yeah, and the TikTok homies have treated me very well over the last almost year and a half now that I've been doing it. So appreciate you guys. Thank you.
Cool. And we've also been getting a little bit more involved with trading in the game, without knowing it, I guess.
Yeah, without knowing it, yeah. So I'm also a part of Order 66 with the leadership team over there. So it's Galidrum, who's the founder and the owner. He is, if you're in the PvP space, that is I would assume, a pretty popular name for a lot of you guys. And then it's me, it's British, Meta, who's another short creator, DG Viking, Mad Souls, Garot, and Roddy. We're like the leadership team of Order 66, and we all focus on different things. My main thing is fleet combat, so I'm a big fleet guy. I run all our fleet ops over at Order 66, so that's kind of my bread and butter.
So this is actually kind of crazy, but during the last podcast episode I just filmed with Grolo a little while ago, we were talking about trading, and I brought up the fact that I had been getting more into trading and did the Fangs with the components trade. Were you you there?
That was my Idris you were on.
Yeah. So that's
Our Lady Padme, UNSC, Our Lady Padme. That is my Idris. So if you see me around the verse, you can tort me or wave at me, do the little wing wave. Either one.
Star Citizen, dude. Small world. Literally.
Small world. It is a very small world.
Still only 700 people. But yeah, so the reason that we're having this talk is because I did the video on Space Tomato 2. You hit up the comments and actually started a pretty big conversation with folks kind of about the topic, but you also hit me up on Twitter, and luckily we got in contact after that. So without further ado, why don't we just jump straight into the good stuff? People have come here to learn more about what's financially going on with Star Citizen. Let's start with 2024. This was the time when we didn't really know what was going on with Squadron 42, right? They hadn't done the big. They did the previous. Oh man, so they had done something in 2023 where they showed us like a little bit, but we didn't get that full gap of gameplay yet. So it was kind of this period of like Squadron's not coming out. I think, man, what else was happening around there? There were some interesting things going on in 2024, but what we have learned is that there also was a lot of financial complications happening there. What is the general vibe of the company you got during that time, just from like reading the report they put out from a high level right now?
From behind, yeah. So for anyone watching this who's a financial professional, I am going to speak to the most common denominator. So my verbiage and language is going to be very plain. So I apologize, but I think it's very important for the community to learn these things, and it's not just a piece of paper, right? This is a lot of us. This is our dream game, so I think it is very important that the community does learn it. But from a 2024 perspective, I would say that it was very positive. They turned a profit, and significantly so from the previous year. And you also have to remember, like in this conversation that we're going to have tonight, we're looking at this 2 years in arrears, right? I'm sorry, 2 years in the past, right? So
Yeah.
we are literally we are time traveling essentially, right? So at, people will ask, oh, this is so bad. Oh, this is a bad line. But then last year was a world record year for them, right? It's pretty obvious. And this year, I think they're like 7 or 8% ahead so far.
Yeah.
So regardless of what we say in this conversation and what's on this piece of paper, it is emphatically okay because the game is still here. Squadron, as far as we know, is still coming out this year. The 2026 was on their newsletter. I think that released on Tuesday, right?
Yeah.
So as far as we know, we're okay. Everything's okay. There's no alarm bells being raised. There's no red flags.
Do you remember how close to the launch date they were when they delayed it last time in 2016?
I don't. So I started playing in 2022, and
Okay.
I was like a follower. I was just like, just peeking in every like maybe once or twice a year. I would catch a video every now. Like in the 2010s. Well, that's kind of crazy. The 2010s, man, we're getting old. But in the 2010s, and I essentially haven't really been keeping up with it. In the year 24, I keep up of the daily, and I mean now I post a video every day. So for the last 18 months, I've been very, very into it. So the more back in time we go, the less knowledge I have.
Okay. I just looked it up to confirm, just because I do want to put some context there now. I think it's a different company. They've got big investments from other people now. They can't pull the same moves. But in 2016, they did announce the delay of the 2016 release date of Squadron 42 at CitizenCon that year. So if that doesn't terrify you, again, I don't think they can do that now because of the conversation we're about to have. But like,
yeah, I don't think
it's crazy to look back and think that they literally delayed the game with 2 months left in the year. I'm so glad I wasn't like really hooked in at that time. I would have been freaking
devastated. Yeah, I don't think I not even from a financial perspective, but from a reputation perspective, like reputational risk, they cannot delay again. There's 0% chance they can't do it.
So in 2024, you felt like things were going good.
Yes. So I am a big believer in fundamental analysis when it comes to a company. So I'm a big in numbers. What do the numbers say? What do the numbers speak to me? Right. So like when you're looking at a company, specifically stocks, right? So that's like a common thing I think a lot of us will have some experience with. There's two ways of looking at a stock. You can do a technical analysis, which is just looking at the charts, for example. The trend is this way, and then it comes back down, and then it goes back up, and I go, oh, well, now it's back up, so it's probably going to come back down. Or there's fundamental analysis, which is looking at what we're looking at tonight, which is just looking at the numbers. For me, I'm a big fundamental analysis guy. I'm a big numbers guy. Again, it's kind of what I do in my day job. So naturally, I would lean towards that. But in the 2024 numbers, again, they turned a profit, and there wasn't anything in there. And I know we'll talk about the put option, but there wasn't anything in there that was significantly worrying to me. And honestly, a lot of it was mostly positive, I would say.
All right.
PwC even said that themselves in their thing, and a lot of, you also have to understand, the viewers as well, from the board of directors perspective. You have to put out this is a public document, so you're naturally going to doctor it in the sense of, I'm going to make it look good, not doctor it as in I'm going to falsify information, but doctor it as in, like, I'm going to fluff it up a little bit to make it look good because it's an investor piece. Think of it as like a quarterly call in the United States. I'm going to make it sound fluffy and nice and all those other good things. So that's another thing to just think about when we go over this tonight. When we read some of the verbiage, of course, it's going to look a lot nicer than maybe what the underlying hood actually shows.
Well, let's jump into more of the specifics. I'm going to start
Sure.
with a look at the PricewaterhouseCoopers, the audit that they did. And specifically, there was an opinion they put out there. So they said basically that the put option that was placed on Star Citizen or CIG should be listed in the balance sheet as a liability. But CIG didn't. Now, how big a deal do you think it is that PwC was calling that out, and why wouldn't they put it as a liability?
Okay, so this is going to be a very large topic that I'm going to try to cut down into very bite-sized pieces. Essentially, I'll go off the top what a put option is.
Okay, cool. I was going to ask if you could explain that first. Thank you.
Yes. So I think a lot of people hear the word put option and you think someone is shorting CIG. That is not the case. So this is corporate finance. This is not institutional trading or retail trading, which is what, like, retail trading is what I go on Robinhood and I trade a stock.
Yeah.
Right. So the completely two separate concepts. This is a corporate put option. What a corporate put option is that an investor, let's say an investor, I'm investing in Space Tomato. And you're welcome. And I invest $5 million into Space Tomato with the hopes that I will get X amount of shares or whatever the agreement, the put option is that I get into return. Now, I will have something in that language, inside that agreement, that says, if Space Tomato goes out and, I don't know, does something silly, he's a silly goose and
I don't do silly things.
My 5 million, you be a silly goose and that $5 million, it goes to $0. We would call that a trigger. So I'm going to try to explain this as simple as possible. A trigger is X happens, so then I get to pull my money.
Yeah.
You can think of it as like a parachute. So essentially, what PwC is talking about here is an investor invested $10 million with CIG. If that investor, and it's not subjective, it should not be subjective. I don't have the terms of that put option in front of me, so I can't read the legal agreement, for example, and I can't read the legal language, and I can't see what the specific triggers are. But there's trigger periods, as we will go over. And inside those periods, I can exercise those options as XYZ happens. And so that's what this case is. Any question? I'm gonna stop and let everyone breathe there. And if you have any questions, just let me know. Because
what is the put option worth?
Well, it depends. So you would calculate it at the present value.
Okay.
So I think PwC, I actually have it over here on my screen. So like PwC in 2024, this is 2 years ago, mind you, this would go up significantly now.
Right.
But in 2024, I believe their first put option period would be valued at around 34.2 million euros. So this is not dollars either, euros. So that would be, I don't know, probably
pounds.
Around like 30 million pounds. Thank you. 30 million. That's embarrassing. Financial professional can't even get the dollar right. I just see the dollar sign every day. $30 million would probably be the equivalent off the top of my head, what we would call like the spot rate. That would be significantly more now. Now, the important thing with the put option and why this isn't, I'll get to your original question, but to kind of quell the masses and to put water on the flame is, even if he does, or the investor does decide to take the put option, and it is legal and it is viable, they would only get paid out your cash surplus at the end of the year.
So the company would be able to operate basically and keep making money to pay.
Yes, yeah. Correct. That's why, in my opinion, it's not that big of a deal. That one of the reasons. There's multiple other reasons which we will go over, but for me, right there, that's not a big deal. In real life, what I do, we have something similar in commercial real estate. We would call it a like a cash clearing account or a DACA. And what would happen is during periods, we'll sweep excess cash into the account to pay for a number of things. And this takes place inside of a trigger period. So I kind of do the same thing, negotiate the same thing in my day job. Completely different, and this is corporate finance, and I do CMBS, but it's commercial mortgage-backed securities for everyone. I'm sorry again with the acronyms.
We love acronyms.
Yeah, The Big Short, but commercial. But basically, to quell the flames, not a big deal.
But one of the things that is included there is that the 34 million pounds as a put option is the exercisable period for that opened in January, ends in September, right? So we're in the period
of this year. Yes, we are in a trigger period currently.
So we're literally at the point where CIG is at their most financially risked, right?
If the investor decides to, if the investor decides to exercise in that trigger period. But again, we don't know, the public won't know, because this is probably on a legal document that we won't be able to see. We wouldn't have the rights to see it, but it would have to fulfill the trigger period language, the language being the legal language that allows someone to do an action. So in our Space Tomato, me investing in Space Tomato had to be a silly goose in order for me to exercise that trigger option. If Space Tomato, and this is not subjective, usually it's not subjective. Again, I don't know. And this is British law too, right? This is not American.
You know how they are.
United States.
They say aluminium and stuff.
Aluminium. Yeah, crazy.
Yeah, that's right. I can't even say their version right.
It's aluminium, bro. Get it right. Anyway, the point being, again, we don't know what the actual legal language is, right? So it's hard for us. This is all speculation, in other words, right? What we're talking about.
Yeah.
But as an investor, why would I exercise in this trigger period if, for all we know, the investor probably knows more than we do, by the way, but for all we know, they had, for a fact, we all know, record year last year. It's going very good for the first half of this year, almost for the first half of this year. And big ships are coming in 5-ish weeks, right? 6 weeks at Invictus. Yep. Then you have Squadron coming out this year. My shares will be worth probably more in that. I'm guessing as the investor. I'm doing this math in my head. I'm going, well, my shares are probably going to be worth a lot more than if I just took the cash right now.
Yeah.
Basically, what that agreement is if I invest in a small company, for example. Now, CIG is not a small company. Well, relatively, they kind of are. They're a medium-sized company. But at that time, I think they did it in 2018, right, is when they entered into this agreement, off the top of my head. Around that time, around there. At that time, you could certainly argue that CIG was in a significant amount of trouble. And it would be prudent for me, financially prudent of me, to put that in. So essentially, CIG needs cash, but we're in a very risky spot. Going to a bank might be a little bit difficult. We need investors to come in, angel investors to come in and help us out. To entice those angel investors, you put in this kind of language to do it. It's normal.
Yeah.
It's not crazy.
This is taking us all the way back to 2018, right? You're saying in 2018, CIG was in a difficult position. I think we all, if you were here for 3.0, you remember that. And so they took on this investment from the Calders, who have since doubled down several times. But at that time, you would say they were in more risk?
Totally, 100%. Because they're, again, at that time, right? Like, this is where I didn't follow the project close enough to like to be speaking matter of fact in this current moment. But
Hmm.
from what I know, right, you don't have a solid release date for Squadron, obviously, because it's 2016. It's essentially coming out this year. You don't know
Well,
that in 2018. The PU is a dumpster fire. What else is Star Engine wasn't even really a thing back, like a full force thing, right?
no.
So you don't even have that as a backup, right? Like I could, as CIG, even if the other two things didn't work, well, let me just finish Star Engine or sell it off to like Rockstar or someone for billions of dollars and call it a day, because it's a great engine at the end of the day. What they're building is technically very impressive, so you could sell that as an asset. But in 2018, you don't have any those three things. You don't have any of them.
Right.
So you are in a very tough spot.
Yeah. And they also, I mean, I'll pull it up right here so you guys can see. I have the funding here. I'm just going to drop it straight into the podcast. So this is the
Love it.
funding from 2012 until now. And you can very clearly see that during that time you're talking about, around 2016 to 2018, they were fairly flat. Like people were interested, there was passion, but it wasn't growing. It wasn't until 2020 when they got, obviously the pandemic helped, but they got persistence and people started to feel like this was an actual game forming. So you can see the funding really rose then. But even at that point, it was fairly steady growth up till 2024. And then 2025 exploded. So what I want to talk about there is that
And
you
you had a
said,
loss in 2017 going into 2018.
yeah, that was because that was right after Squadron got delayed. And they also did not release any updates that whole year. I just want to make that very clear for all of you who hated the wait for 4.0. Imagine instead of the wait for 4.0 that we got, we literally just sat on a single update for an entire year with nothing being dropped into the game. It was miserable. But what we saw in 2025 was an explosion in financing. And I think everybody recognized this. They were pushing for the sales. They released the Idris. They even tried the Flight Blades thing. They're doing all kinds of ship stuff. They clearly needed to make a lot of money last year. Do you think this was a big thing? A big part of it was just proving to the investors that, hey, don't pull your money out in 2026 because look at how much we can make now.
Of course it is. Of course. That is if my board of directors and my CFO isn't thinking that every single day, if their head is not going on the pillow every single night with worries about this, with anxiety about keeping the company afloat, then you're not doing your job.
True.
As a CFO, right? So for them, of course, that is their main. I mean, the CFO's main his is fiduciary responsibility first. Keep the company alive, keep it afloat, keep it funded, and pay out my liabilities.
Sure.
Right. That's his only job. That is their only job. Actually, I don't know who the CFO is, so it could she or he. That is their only job. They don't have any other responsibility. That is their responsibility. So, yes, this is 100, and you can see that because if you go to the personnel report in 2024, where they added personnel, marketing outtook devs. They have more marketing. So now, in saying that, I can already see the headlines from like IGN or something going, oh, but the point is, right? This is how you drive revenue. Yeah, it's.
Wait, hold on. I need to.
Yes. I have to get to the personnel report. Yeah, that was a spicy thing I was telling you about, by the way.
Wait, what?
Sorry,
I need to see this.
The PwC thing. Well, I was on the PwC thing, so I gotta go find the page again.
That can't be. What? That doesn't sound right.
Well, I mean, it. Think about it, right? As a company, you need to sell. That's how you get your product out.
Sure.
And so
you also need to make a game.
Marketing. I don't disagree with you. I come from, again, financial background, fiduciary responsibility, right? Completely different mentality. I will find what page it's on.
Yeah, I really need to see that because that is actually a pretty surprising thing. In fact, I don't have it linked. If you could send me the link to that. So the interesting thing about that is I think something else that happened in 2024 was that let's see if I can find it here. I can't find it here. They, I believe, had also. What did they do?
Good, like so, like my
There's
day
something
job,
else
going
in
through the
24.
PDFs, going, hold on one second, let me find both of us. It's finance, baby. This is what it's all about. The one thing, just as we're looking through this, that I was really not annoyed, but this is going to be just a little like funny quirk, is that some of their formatting on the, again, if you're in the financial services industry, you'll feel my pain when I say this. Some of the formatting in the columns are shifted, and it
Oh yeah, yeah.
it really bothered me.
That was kind of hard to follow.
Yeah, I don't read British, like they're not even 10Qs or like K1s and stuff like that, but like European or anything outside of the United States financial reports, really, ever
Mhm.
in my life. So I don't know if that's normal or if that's what it is. Now
Ah,
this is gonna bother me now that I can't find this
can't
again.
find it. I did
I can't
find
find it.
the download for myself. That is an interesting line if you can find it, but that is not the
I
most
am gonna find
interesting
it.
thing that happened. So, a reason I'm asking about 2024, how were they doing, is because there are other things that. Well, actually, hold on. We can't get distracted. Okay, we were on 2025 for a second there.
Mhm,
Big year. They clearly wanted to
mhm.
drive sales, finances, ensure their investors that good things were happening. But like, at what point is it a problem that the idea of in impressing investors is now overtaking the idea of making a good game? Now, I don't think that's the case. I think CIG makes more money when they make a good game. So it's not necessarily that they are butting heads. But a lot of what drove this game in the first few years was the idea that there was no publisher that would be holding money over the head of the devs, or investors that would force a release. And now it looks very much like investors need to be made confident by the company. So the company's changing what they do year by year to make sure that money makes sense and looks like it's going to return later. And it also seems like that means they are now at the point where they have to release Squadron 42 to follow through on that confidence. So is Squadron
And
42 now being forced out by investors?
I'll answer your question in a second because I found it and I
You
want
found
to
it.
correct myself. I was way off. They hired more um, marketing.
Okay.
That's what it was. They
Thank
hired more
God.
marketing. So
I
let me
really
let me
wanted
let
to
me correct
confirm that.
myself. Let me correct myself. I can already see this is going to be an absolute shit show. Let me correct myself. They hired more than devs this year. Not a big deal, but they have like it's like 540-ish, 541 more personnel in development than in marketing.
Cool.
Not even
That's
close.
why I just wanted
They
to
hired more.
confirm that. Yeah. Okay.
Yes, let me
But that
confirm
is a thing.
before that blows up any further, because I could already see people
Too
already
late.
freaking out
Too late.
listening to that. Yeah, it's too
Clipped.
late.
Posted to
Whatever.
Reddit.
I'll just eat it. Yeah, we're just gonna eat that one. Um,
That
okay,
actually,
but
it feeds into so many conspiracy theories too.
it does. I
That's
know.
why I was
I
like, oh
saw. I said
no.
that. I said it. I was like, wait, I might have said that wrong. Hold on, because when I said it, I was like, no, that can't be right. Like you're that can't be right. Let me just double check, because I was like, I think I'm wrong in that when I said it. I think I said it wrong, and I was like, wait, let me just double check before we get any crazier here. Yes, they
Okay.
hired more.
Okay.
Not a big deal. It's like
So
541 more personnel. Fine.
we did, and that's important to know. But also, there's still the question I was asking about Squadron
Yes.
42. Is it investment
Yes.
led now?
Investment led in the sense that
It
they're
has to
pushing it
come
out
out not
because it has to
because,
come out.
yeah.
No, because again, we're looking at 24, and with 25, they made a shit ton of money.
But
Let's
that
just be
was
honest.
based on the idea Squadron's coming in 26. I mean, not
Sure,
entirely
but
based on it, but that adds to the
I mean,
confidence, right?
well, I'll put it to you this way, right? Like, I don't think it's investment led. It is extremely. I would say that Squadron 42 was definitely pushed extremely hard because of financial pressures. I would not say that it is investment led.
Okay.
I think both can be true at the same time, right?
It
Because now if they pulled it this year, yeah, you're screwed. Like and it's again that reputational risk. It's way too high, and people are not going to fund the game anymore. Like, why
Right.
will I buy a $5,000 battle cruiser if Squadron is not here?
Yeah.
Because if Squadron's not here, and what are you going to do with the PU then? Like, what's wrong with Squadron, a single player game that you can't get an even more
Yeah.
complicated game in the PU working? All right. So that to me, extreme problem. Now, that has not happened.
No,
So let's not freak out.
no, it hasn't.
But I wouldn't say it's investor led. I would say it's definitely pushed very strongly, and that
Yeah.
because of financial pressures. I mean, you
That's
have
what
to at
it
some point
feels
you have
like.
to make a product. At some point you have to make a product, right? The PU is a product, but at some point if you're going to say with a single player game, at some point it's got to come out.
Yeah. A lot of people are probably looking at the screen thinking to themselves, I'm glad the investors are in here pushing this. Chris was
Yeah.
just going to keep going. Maybe the investors are the Microsoft of this story.
And in many ways, I would even say it's investor led, but I'll spin it this way. It's investor led by us, right? And we're now not shareholders,
Yeah.
which
But they need
with
our
some of the
money.
money that some of us has spent, we probably should be. But but
Yikes.
emotionally speaking, I would say a lot of us, especially like us who make content every day for it, and like people who watch content every day for it, like religiously, and who are in orgs and dealing with broken stuff every single day, we are very much emotional shareholders, and I would say we push it along further than any financial pressure.
Yeah, I mean, that's where the bulk of the money comes from. And like we looked
Yes,
at, when the game gets better, more money comes in. Like last year had so much money.
exactly,
Yes, they pushed a bunch of ship sales, but let's be honest, more people felt like they could finally play. And I think
exactly. And so
this year will be better.
in that sense, if you look at us as the investors, then it is 100% investor
Right.
led.
Right. Now, next talk. Looking at the investors and what they have been doing, interestingly, there was another loan given by the same investors who have already been in the game. Now, they don't name these investors, but I feel like it's kind of obvious because there's like one main big investor here. You might
Mhm.
be able to tell me differently based on how the market actually works. But they said that basically they drew down another $10 million loan under a
Yep.
secured phone loan facility,
Hmm.
entered
That's
into
my
with.
specialty.
Okay. So that was
That's
on
what I do.
March
Yeah.
of 2025.
Yep.
What do you think? Is that like, what do you think the story is behind that? Why another 10 million?
Again, wouldn't you love to peek behind the curtain
I
and see
would.
like the things that the public will just
Can
never
you
see, right?
lift that
I
curtain
would,
for me?
yeah, sure, I'll try to. I mean, if you bring up the that funding chart that you had on earlier, I do have essentially maybe a theory for it. I mean, they could be paying off some other debt obligations, right? So a debt obligation being they had another loan, or they had to pay someone out, or they had to pay for the cost of
Wait, taking
acquiring
loans to
turbulent.
pay loans.
That sounds bad for in personal space, in personal finance. Never do that. In corporate finance, always do that. It's a completely different world. Maybe not. I'm over exaggerating a little bit, but that is debt vehicles are a way to move your business along and hedge risks and stuff. So it's not that big of a deal in the corporate world as it is in your personal life. So in the first couple months, let's see, that's January, February, March. So in March, I mean, you're already outpacing 24 January. But at that point, you may not have enough cash because in 24 you posted only a 1.6 million dollar in cash on hand, in profit, with just a little bit more with cash on hand. And you had a rough 24 compared to 23. So you may needed some liquidity being cash on hand to pay for things. That's what we would call liquidity. And so you maybe needed some more liquidity there to pay for, I don't know, whatever they need. Again, wouldn't you love to peek behind the curtain to see what they need that liquidity for? But they could have
Yes.
done that. It might have been Chris Roberts told me, and he's like, dude, you want to re-up again because this shit's going to be big next year. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And because essentially, if we're talking about the same loan, there's a convertible option on that to turn it into shares, and the company pays the investor interest naturally, on the accrual period, or what we would call like the tenor of that loan.
Hmm.
Well, the tenor is the period of the loan, but the accrual period of that loan until it terminates. So it might have been Chris Roberts' best friend that was like, I want to put another $10 million in. Chris is like, yeah, we could use the extra liquidity. And hey, man, by the way, 26 Squadron's coming out.
Yeah. So
you know what I mean? So we don't know, right?
Yeah. Yeah. It could be votes of confidence. Do you see it being a bad thing? I mean, I guess
No,
if they're
because
like,
they can cover their liabilities, so it's not that big of a deal.
okay.
Right?
Okay.
As long as you can cover your liabilities, it's not that big of a deal.
Now, the most interesting information about this specific loan that I found on here, let me see if I can find it here. It says the agreement of the loan facility described in this note was signed on December 25th of 2024. Signing a loan like that on Christmas is a choice. You think it was like a gift?
Yeah. So yeah, it was a Christmas gift. Yeah, St. Nicholas came down with $10 million. Yeah. So Chris did a deal with St. Nicholas, and he was not on the naughty list, and he got $10 million and not a sack of coal. I mean, okay. So you're right. So that was the same loan. They did sign it in December. So it could be covering like year-end liabilities. It could be.
Is that pretty normal for a company?
Yeah, this is all normal.
Be doing that?
Yeah, there's nothing crazy there. There's nothing crazy there.
All right. Next question I've got for you. You left a comment on the video, and you pointed out that the CFO was pretty competent. You kind of seemed to be saying some good things about them, and said something specific about their confirmation statements. What was that?
Oh, two separate things. Two separate things. Two separate things. The confirmation statements was just more for the general public to see like who actually owns the company, like who are major shareholders in the company.
Okay.
And so that's what that was. It was just cool, right? It's I mean, I have it open here. It's Chris Roberts, Aaron Roberts, Urlock Ltd, Indus Management Ltd, which I looked up these companies, Infotrade Group Corporation. These are mostly asset management companies. So what asset management is, you can, again, I would have to do more research to see when they invested and all this other good stuff, but they're more or less like either doing seed funding, what we would do, like what we would call seed funding, which is like in your early stages of a company, giving company cash, injecting cash into them to make them grow. Seed investing.
And then do you
again? I would have to look
back
up
to
more.
them, I assume.
I'm sorry.
And then you owe back to them, I assume. Like it's not like there's no notes.
Yeah, they would. Well, these are shareholders, so I would assume they gave money for shares.
Okay.
But again, like I don't know, I don't have their specific agreements, so I wouldn't know what their specific agreement was with the company.
Okay.
And then Benoit's on there.
Right, that makes sense because they bought Turbulent. He probably got shares.
Yep.
So, do they is Mark Boudet on there?
Yes, he is.
Okay,
he's above. He has the same shares as Benoit.
Yeah, so they basically distributed them to the Turbulent guys.
Yeah, again, totally normal. Makes sense.
So is that normal to be like? Is it expected that there were other companies invested? I think most people only know about the Calders.
Yes, totally normal. Totally normal. One of my best friends actually started his own company a couple years ago and is going through his seed fund. He actually just signed a term sheet for all your finance guys out there, but it basically means that he just got pretty much exactly what's happening here. Shares for a large injection into the company for cash. Completely normal. Happens all the time. There's a whole entire sector on Wall Street called private equity that does these kind of things. Venture capital is specifically really private equity also does this a little bit depending on what firm you're at, but mostly venture capital. And private equity also does this, but private equity usually invests in more, not seed, but mostly a little bit later into the stages. But again, it muddies the water a little bit there. I'm doing extremely high levels here, but basically there's a whole sector on Wall Street that does this thing. Extremely common.
Of course. Of course there is.
But but the thing is, like, someone looks at these things and they go, oh my God, crazy. But if you do it every day, you go, it's just normal.
Well, that's why, I mean, even so, this financial document we're going over, folks, isn't even the public one that CIG puts out to kind of tell people and keep people up to date. You could argue that would be not good because they'll probably skew that to come off a certain way. This is what was turned into the government. And there's a reason that they don't really present this, because people like myself will read it and be like, big numbers, Ooh, and put it in big red text on their thumbnails.
And they already have enough negative media on them. They're like, I don't need any more, bro. I can already see Chris and Aaron like right now, like, dude, I don't need any more of this shit, bro. Like,
That's why I think we should talk about this, because the community itself should try and come at this stuff from like a balanced take, so that somebody else from outside of the community isn't coming at it with a biased take and then putting out. I mean, okay, we're going to be biased. I know.
They're going to spin. It's the spin room, baby. Like they're going to spin. Everyone will spin something some way. Everyone's got an angle. Yeah. So it's not, but yes, you are 100% correct. There's nothing in here to me, even the PWC stuff, the put option stuff. It's nothing that now that, which I don't think I actually answered your question earlier on this, them not putting it as a liability. I can argue both sides. I see both sides. Both sides are totally valid. So it's just dependent on, what philosophy do you want to go with there.
I would love to hear the other side. Why maliciously would you not put it down as a liability?
It's not malicious. There's nothing malicious here.
Okay.
Completely nothing malicious. PwC even says it themselves. It's nothing malicious whatsoever. So if you read the whole 29 comment 29 addendum, for those at home following along, let me scroll back down to it. It will be PDF page 49. Then they themselves do not use it, and even in like the title page of PwC's analysis, there's nothing in there that they say is malicious whatsoever. And also, I will address this as well. Bringing in a accounting firm, bringing in a auditing firm is completely normal. Companies do this all the time. They choose to self-audit. I have to do audits every couple months, and my main job, we self-audit. The reason people self-audit is to catch stuff before it gets to the government, before you get fined billions of dollars for doing something wrong.
Right.
So totally normal, totally okay. Them not putting it on there, the CFO or whoever's decision to put it on there. Actually, I don't even know if CAG even has a CFO, if it's just the board of directors making these choices. But them choosing not to put it on there is valid in their opinion. Because, and I would even argue that I wouldn't even put it as a liability either, because their trigger period wasn't until we're now 2 years later in January 2026, January this year was their first trigger period. Mm-hmm. So it wasn't even technically a liability in 2024.
Now that trigger period ends on the 30th of September, 2026. And I do wonder if that date's going to end up being significant. Not that something happens on that date, but if they need to do anything before that date, just like, to make sure the investors are cool.
Yeah. I mean, even PwC themselves say it in here that now this is the company, CIG, telling PwC this, but they quote that they, based upon previous representations from the holders and given the company's financial position, budgets, and forecast, the company currently assesses the probability of the holders exercising their put rights to be remote, not very remote. Let me be precise. To be remote, right? So that they again, like, they know these guys, invest a lot with them, do a lot of work with them. I don't think now that in and of it's exactly, essentially they're friends, right? Well, not essentially, they are. Again, I'm talking like, I'm trying to talk matter of factly, but
yeah,
that to me is subjective. That is not enough to withhold it from liabilities. Them not putting it on there because, which I don't think PwC actually cites it, but I would personally posture that it is not a liability until 26. So why would I put it on in 24? Mm-hmm. Because it would then put me in the red if I put it as a liability, right? So why would I essentially shoot myself in the foot when I don't have to? Mm-hmm. That is my assumption of why they're doing it. Like, that's what I would argue it in the numbers game, plus a couple other like small things here and there, but that's what I would argue. And on top of that, I would argue that it's not even necessarily a liability because they're just cash sweeping my revenue. They're not. It's not like I have to give you a lump sum. You're just taking my excess revenue away, my excess cash away from me. So how do you even calculate that as a liability?
Right. Yeah.
You could do the net present value, but then that gets a little iffy. It's too subjective. Mm-hmm. So that's what I would posture of why I wouldn't put it as a liability.
Okay.
PwC would argue, well, it's still a liability. You should put it under liabilities. And I see
Okay.
both sides.
Uh, I'm going to read a little bit from this report then that goes back to that original 30 million pound liability and talks about just how far it can go. So they say, consequently, consistent with prior years, the company has not recognized this put option as a financial liability measured at the net present value of the expected payments. If it were to do so using the minimum return calculation value on the investment for those shares, it would generate a liability of 34.2 million pounds at December 2024. We know that. That's the initial. Here's where it gets interesting. Applying a discount rate of 10%. Sorry, that's still the same sentence. The next part says this liability would rise to 71.4 million pounds based upon a multiple applied to an estimate of 3 prior years' revenue leading up to the exercise date. So making 150 million last year actually raised the liability for them. What's up? Like, what is this? What's the
Well, no.
logic
These
behind
are
this?
numbers. These are 2024 calculations. They didn't even know 2025 existed. So it's even higher now. I would
Fair.
posture that the company is worth a lot more now than it was in 2024, right? And by a significant multiple. So those numbers are higher.
But it would only get higher based on the
Yes.
income prior, right? So they have to
Yep.
recalculate it every year, and 2025 completely blew. I mean, we've got this here. It blew that average. Before the
Mhm.
average was 2022, 2023, 2024. Looks like that's about 115-ish million. Suddenly, you're doing 23, 24, and 25, and that average goes up to like 130, 140. So, what is the thinking behind the way that this works or adds up? Is it like is it to get the investors more money if things go well? What's up with it?
No, it's making your parachute a lot better as the investor, right? I feel a lot more comfortable giving you a lot more money up front if I have a significant windfall going down, like in latter years. So, like, let's say CIG blew up in 2020, right? A lot of companies did. Well, now I have that parachute, and I'm good. The problem is though, right? If based on their language, right? Because now I'm thinking about this now, like based on their language, if they're cash sweeping everything, you really wouldn't even be able to get that. It's not really a covered put. It's interesting. I have to posture about about this a little bit more because is it really that big of a parachute? Maybe he's doing it for something different then. So what's going through my head now, right? I'm thinking about this logically. If the company goes under for whatever reason, well, I guess this is their risk. Okay, so my thought, what the thought that just went through my head for everyone is, I was explaining why it's a parachute, and then I was
Mm-hmm.
thinking to myself, well, the worst case scenario, the company goes up under, which is the scenario I was going to give because it's the most easiest one to relate to. Um, well, then you wouldn't get paid out because you get paid out of their excess cash outside of their operating um, expenses, right? So
Right.
you
Yeah.
wouldn't even get that back. I think those trigger periods are there. Is my assumption. Again, this is all assumption, and in PwC says that as well in their calculations. Plenty of assumptions going around inside that calculation. My assumption is that the investor is thinking, well, they won't go under, but if they're not doing significant progress, if they're not showing progress in profitability over year, then I can pull my money before it gets bad. So if for anyone in the finance world and the banking world, covenants, this is what a covenant would be. They're essentially financial metrics that if you have a corporate loan and you're that corporation, you have to send in like these financial documents, for example, to the bank. And the bank will then go over it and they go, okay, this is good. If the bank looks at these and goes, okay, last quarter you were down, this quarter you were down, next quarter, let's say they're down, then I would call something. I would either call your stocks if it's like a corporate investment, or in the CMBS world, it's a little bit more difficult. I'm not going to go into it probably because I can't. But essentially, these are protections for the lender or the investor in this case. And so these trigger periods are protections. So I see that you have a downward trend. I can pull my money before it goes to zero.
Does the 3-year average have any significance on that, or is that just kind of an arbitrary choice of range?
Again, it's hard to say because I don't do European or British finance, so I wouldn't know. Like in the
Mhm.
United States, our tenors, at least in the CMBS world, are tenors. So our length, or the length of period of the loan, is 5 to 10 years, and in residential, it's 30 years. Right, is your typical
Yeah.
one. So I don't know. Like
Okay.
3 years might be normal over there. It may not be. I just don't.
When
I don't know that answer.
when you would do the tenors here in America, would you also just say like the average income of all the years that loan was existent for, like that?
I can't answer that.
All right. Love those kinds of answers. There
I,
was
I have to be very careful, but I there's some questions I can't answer.
That's fine. I
I
get
just
it.
don't want to get into any trouble.
Yeah. No, it's fine. I mean, like, if your bosses are watching, thanks for watching, guys.
Yeah, thanks, guys. I don't know. They probably
How's he
not.
doing?
They're
Like,
probably not,
hey,
but it's
dude.
going on the internet. The internet forever. So
Yeah, that's exactly. You're good. He's doing great at reading the internet. All right. So another interesting thing that happened in 2024 that is money related. Yes, there's more folks. One of the directors in the company took a 30% pay cut going into 2025, and the compensation for the directors in general dropped from 1.44 million down to 1.26 million pounds. You can believe whatever you want with how high that number is, but they were taking pay cuts in 2024. What does that tell you about the situation?
good. They should be taking pay cuts.
That's what everybody. Yeah, people at the
If
top
you're not,
take the
if
pay
you're
cuts.
not, listen. If you're extremely profitable and you're extremely successful, then pay yourself. You deserve it. They work hard, right? A lot of people rag on the devs and this, that, the other thing, yada yada yada, super negative. But they bust their butts. They really do. So, and we're talking about the directors here, but
Yeah.
they should be paying their devs well. And if that means you need to take a pay cut in a down year to pay your devs to get the game out and to reward them for working their asses off, then hell yeah, take that pay cut. That's good leadership. That's quality
Now,
leadership.
the big question is, where was the money going when it was being cut from their pay? Was it going to the devs?
But
I couldn't find
wouldn't
that.
you won't.
Yeah.
Wouldn't you like to know though?
Yeah,
It
exactly.
better. You know,
We all hope so.
I again, yeah, what I said was an opinion. I don't know where their money actually went.
You
They
are
may
the
have
one
taken a
who
pay
said they
cut to.
hired more marketing people that year than devs.
They did. That is true. I think it was PDF page 39 or something like that. But they have way more depth.
Yeah.
I would
No,
say,
we got past that part.
yeah, we got past. I just want to double check. It's going to be miserable. The outcome of that. The whoopsies. The I think it's a good choice. I think if you're a quality leader, you would do that. All right, sacrifice yourself to help the troops out. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
That's leadership 101. That's leadership 101. Or you cut your salary to go pay a liability. Maybe that's what that was for.
Yeah. I mean, it is
Maybe
like
we
it's
just didn't
a
have the cash. We need to look positive, right? Because I think they were only up like 1.6 million pounds in
mhm.
24, right? Something like that, 1.5, somewhere around that number, off the top of my head, right? So
They were carrying. Oh no, that's not the right number. Never mind. No, I don't know what they were carrying fully. Looks like 9 million. No, that's shares. Sorry, I don't have that page up. But yeah, they weren't doing particularly well. So it is nice to see that like the directors are taking pay cuts and they weren't doing something else. I could not think back to all the things that happened in 2024, but I'm sure they did some kind of not great practices there to try and make up a little bit for it.
yeah, and when the last year's or this next financial statement comes out, dude, you best believe they're going to be paying themselves because they had a good year, right? So you'll see
Yeah.
the opposite probably this year. You know?
Yeah, it's going to be really interesting to see what happened in 2025 financially.
Yeah. I mean, they did say in very corporate speak that they did pay their devs well. I forget. I'm again. I don't. It's going to take another 10 minutes to go look through 51 PDF pages. But there was a line in the title, in some of the title lines that were essentially along the lines of we took care of our staff.
Yeah, it looks like.
I would have to go find it again, but
Okay, I found what you said. So in 2023, they had 719 development staff. In 2024, they had 680. 2023, they had 61 publishing, community, and marketing staff. In 2024, they had 139.
yes.
2023, they went from 74 support to 69 in 2024. Nice. So in total, they went from 854 in 2023 to 888 employees in 2024, and their total wage spending went up by 2 million. So they hired a lot of people. The numbers there, I could not possibly say if they paid them well, but there is a lot of stuff moving around, and I feel like it's impossible.
I would imagine
it's impossible to make the call from the outside whether or not they're actually doing well or not. But from the outside, it certainly looks like it, at least just as a business.
Business wise, the numbers tell you it looks well, right? And again, we're in the future looking into the past 2 years now, right?
Mm-hmm.
So last year was good. This year we're starting off hot, and it's going to get stronger. They're going to make a buttload of money next month. They're probably going to make a buttload of money off the Galaxy on the at IAE.
Yep.
If they release the Jav this year, that's a whole nother buttload of money they're going to make. Squadron comes out this year, you're looking at least 100 million, if not more, probably significantly more. So, yeah.
It's interesting to think that this whole time they've been working towards, like, people will say, oh, they make so much money now, why would they ever finish the game? But it's like, they're going to make a ton more money when they have something realistic to play. There's just going to be so many more people looking at this.
Yeah, I LOL when I get that in my comment section every time. I'm like, that is just a dumbass comment.
It's like every game that does that.
It's just so counterintuitive, dude. Like, I'm sorry, it's just so counterintuitive to what reality is. That, yeah, that's just, yeah, you make more money with a finished product. It's
and
just,
with more people.
That's facts. Yeah, that's just
holy crap.
Facts.
Nobody wants to spend money on something that 90% of the internet will tell you is a scam right away. But if people are talking about it like it's a real game, you're way more likely to go buy it.
And how many comments do you get? Because I get these a lot. I'm sure you do get these a lot as well. Oh, I bought the game, had XYZ bug, immediately refunded. How many times have you seen that story?
I actually don't see it too often, but I think people should.
I get a couple comments like that.
Yeah. I think people should refund it if it doesn't work for you. Nobody should force themselves to play a game that doesn't fit them or that they're not enjoying. Like, maybe you'll enjoy it later, but what's the point? Just refund, get your money back, spend it on something you actually enjoy, and come back someday when maybe this is better.
And for the love of God, please only buy a $45 ship package if you're a new player.
Which is going away.
Yeah. Now, are they taking it away? Is it going to be 60 now?
It's already gone. The $45 starting pack's already gone. The Aurora Mark II is on sale. Whenever that sale ends, it'll be $60. And they took away the Mustang. So at this point,
but that see, my thing, I thought the same thing, but then in my head, this might just be hella copium.
Don't cope, man.
My thing was they cut it to 45 because it has LTI gear and a ship paint. So my thinking was the next $45 package they'll do will just be the Aurora Mark II and 6-month insurance with the game package. That's what I thought. But if they cut the $45 package, that's diabolical.
It's gone,
man.
That's
not cool.
No, it's not coming back.
Yeah, that's diabolical.
Last year, I was, because I was watching this, I was like, they just removed the Aurora game package. Where is it? What's going on with it? And they were like, I think the idea was they were going to rework it and re-release it. So I'm like, okay, if they're going to re-release it, what are the chances they're going to re-release it at the same price? And it wasn't until the Aurora Mark II came out and they yanked the Mustang pack with it. They actually didn't yank the Mustang pack. If you look at the names, the Mustang used to be the Citizen Starter Pack. Yeah. Now the Aurora Mark II is the Citizen Starter Pack, but instead of saying 45, it says 60 marked off to 45. So I think we are in the final weeks of this game being $45.
Well, I'm gonna have to remake a couple videos then.
I guess they do a lot of sales. Yeah, that's what I'm doing. I've been waiting to make a video on this.
Yeah, well, that sucks. I'm not a big fan of that decision if that's the case. I mean, at 1.0, sure, $60, fine.
Yeah, I don't know how I feel about it because, like, It's been $45 for like 13 years, right?
That's what I'm saying. Like if you I'm cool with 60 1.0, right? You have a released like fully function for the most
An
part
actual game.
functioning.
Yeah.
Yeah, yes. Cool with 60, right? I think you earn the right to charge $60 as the entry fee. In the current state, I don't I don't
I
I don't know about that. I'm not
I
a big fan of that.
do
I think it should stay 45.
I genuinely think that the $45 starting price is a great step in for people who are hesitant. Maybe bring it up to
Totally.
$60 when you've proven yourself, when you've dropped Squadron. But right now, raising the price of a game that people already kind of deride is I don't know. We'll see.
What do you think the release price of Squadron's going to be?
The
Like
date?
GTA? No, the price. Because you have
Oh,
like think about like Nintendo, all this like I bought my fiance Pocopia, and that was like what, like $79, $80 almost,
mhm.
something around that price. I don't remember off the top of my head. And then like a lot of Switch 2 games are up there. GTA 6 will probably be around 80-ish dollars if I had to guess. Like a lot of AAA games now are coming out at $80. Do you think they'll do an $80 price tag?
They shouldn't. I'm going to be really disappointed in
Yeah,
CIG if they do. This is
yeah.
not a
I think it
publisher-funded
could.
game. They don't have somebody they need to pay back for this stuff. Give the players a good game for $60 like they expect.
Yeah,
It's going to do way better for them long term.
yeah.
Well,
I totally agree.
maybe the CFO would disagree.
I would even as like if I'm thinking of it from a financial perspective, right? Like if I would price it aggressively. Like that's why I would keep the $45 game package just
Yeah.
from a numbers perspective. I'm pricing it aggressively. So if someone goes to the page and goes, well, $45 or $60, what's more palpable to my wallet this month? $45 is always the option. Always the
Yeah.
option, right?
Now,
I can only afford one game, $45
yeah. And you could make
every
the
day of the week.
argument that maybe they're trying to do it to get away from making most of their money from ship sales, but at least right now, that's not the case. They're making most of their money from ship sales. Lower the price of the game.
Yeah, that's another conversation. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a whole conversation.
That's a whole nother can of worms.
Oh boy. All right. I have one more point I want to get to for today.
Yep.
This one's not, we've gone over the big hitters, but I think this one is interesting. So there are several people on their board, and a few of them are they're also directors. So directors are Chris Roberts, Aaron Roberts, Mark Nish, Sandy Roberts, and Ezra Klein, who I keep on accidentally reading as Ezra Klein, and I'm like, that's interesting. But there
Like
was one.
like the actor Ezra Klein, right? Like that's what I.
No, he's a journalist. He's a journalist
Oh,
for
you're
like New
right.
York
You're right.
Times
You're right.
or
You're right.
somebody.
You're right. He is. Yep.
Yeah,
Yep. Yep.
yeah, and I'm
Motion
like,
commenting
that
journalist.
doesn't make sense because it also says
New
on
York
here,
Times.
just so you guys know, page 7, the company made no political donations in the year. That would be super strange if they had.
It would be.
So
You'd be surprised. You'd be surprised.
yeah, I probably wouldn't. The biggest thing that I saw though with the board and directors is that on 26th of June 2024, Ortwin Freyermuth, sorry sir if you're watching and I mispronounced that, he is a director, but he also resigned from the board on that day. Now they didn't say anything about this. They don't have to, obviously, but it is kind of big. I think the one thing here that stands out is that he resigned from the board but stayed with the company. So what does that kind of tell you from a financial fiduciary perspective?
I don't know this guy from Adam, so I can't tell you if it was like a personal thing, right? I did do a little research. He's been buddies with a lot of projects with Chris Roberts for like almost
20
2
years,
decades. Yeah, close to 2 decades. If you're doing professional work for 2 decades, again, I don't know this guy personally. It could be a personal thing where he's like, dude, I'm good. I'm gonna go into retirement age now. Let me step back a little bit from like that director role, but I still want to be around the project, something
Yeah.
like that.
Yeah.
That's probably my guess, right? But again, I don't want to like judge
We don't
another
know.
man's like
Yeah.
personal choice, right? So like
Yeah.
I don't know, right? It could even be a family thing, right? So I don't want to judge it
Absolutely.
based off of that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But
And I don't
that
want
would
to,
be my guess. Is probably retirement.
and I
Well,
definitely don't want to like,
quasi-retirement.
the point is not to encourage gossip, but I think that in this discussion financially, a board member resigning might bring concern. But then that extra complication that he stays with the company, I think, does say a lot about, it's not like he completely wants to get out of there.
Right. So I can see it. I can totally see a conversation happening between him and Chris going, "Hey, Chris, dude, been with you for decades. We're buddies. Let's have a glass of Guinness and get out of here. And I need to step away a little bit. I'm working so long for so many years, but I love your vision. He clearly loves his vision. He's been working with the guy for 2 decades, right?
Yeah,
Love the project. Big believer in it. I want to stay on. I want to do things here and there, just at my own pace.
I feel that.
Almost guarantee you that was probably similar to the conversation they had.
And I get that energy. I do hope that how it is. Honestly,
And good for him if he can afford to do that, dude. Good for you, because that's an awesome deal. Think about that deal.
Yeah.
That's a great deal. I
He's
take
like,
that
hey,
deal.
Chris, I want to actually play the game now. I'm
Yeah,
sit back.
I take that deal. Yeah, that's a good deal.
Good for him. Yeah, that's I'm an empath, I think they call it. Like I want things to work out, right? It would suck if it was something personal that was happening, but we can't comment on that, obviously. To wrap things up, I would love to hear from you. Let's just have like a general candid talk really about the things that we've gone over here. Any last bits that maybe I have missed that you could bring up, or any closing kind of points or thoughts about where they are?
Yeah, closing remarks is, again, I would emphasize that we are looking 2 years into the past. Record year last year, we're 7, 8, 9% ahead this year. Squadron, for all we know, still coming out this year. Hopefully we get something next month, maybe. Or at least by the end of June. I believe the Xbox Summer Showcase is then.
Yeah,
Right?
I'm hoping
So,
Invictus.
somewhere around there, maybe. Everything is hunky-dory. Everything's normal. Nothing too crazy
That sounds
here.
too good. That sounds too good. Come on, let me sweat a little.
In the finance world, it is very black and white. It is, you're either screwed. There's very little room for gray for the most part. Now there is a lot of gray. But for the most part, when it comes to like overarching things like this at a 30,000 foot view, it's either you're going to be good or you're not going to be good, and they're fine, right? Because it's hard for me to say anything negative and then go, well, shit, look at last year.
Yeah.
Look at the beginning of it. You know what I mean? Like it's even if there was something in there that was like they have $30 million in liabilities and they have no way to pay them off. Well, look how much money you just made last year, right? So like even then, in that case, I would be, you're good.
Yeah.
You're gonna be all right.
And now I guess we wouldn't know if the investors exercise their put option, but we'd probably see it in the company shifting in some way, right? To try and capitalize more on money? Or do you think if they did exercise that put option so far this year, would we even be aware?
Probably not. There's no reason for us to know. Why would they tell us?
No, of course they wouldn't tell us. They would just
Right.
tell our wallets.
It would cause mass hysteria because for the most part, right, and this is not a knock on anyone, but someone hears put, they hear a put option,
Yeah.
they're going to Google put option, they go, holy shit, he just shorted CIG.
I'm someone.
But that's not and there's nothing wrong with that, right? Because that is the verbiage of what that is the common verbiage for that word, right? But
Yeah.
it's different because it's a corporate put option. So again, finance loves their super fancy words, yada yada yada. We got to sound smart because we paid a bunch of money for our degrees, yada yada yada, right? And yes, I do own a couple of vests, and I do.
Gotta.
But the point is, there's nothing. It's cool. There's nothing insane here.
All right. We'll come hit you up if anything goes wrong, man. We'll put you on the mic. This guy said that they hired more marketers. They have more marketers than dead.
Yeah, I can already see that, dude. I can already. That's not going to be good. I said it so confidently too, because I was like,
You corrected it, dude.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah,
you'll get all the people who can stick around for a little bit. Somebody might have heard that, clicked off, and ran to the forums. But
oh yeah, dude. Yeah, I can already see.
so, what was I gonna freaking finish with? I was gonna ask you. You know what? I don't know. Long term, though, as a gaming company, how do you see things going for CIG with the momentum we're seeing? With this is not just a financial question. This is the tech that they're bringing in, the features they're releasing, the kind of way they're working. How do you think things are going to go for them compared to last year?
I think Last year, I was confused last year a little bit. I think their vision was we want to get the game super playable. My version of playable was different than their version of playable.
Do you still think that was really what they were doing?
I
Maybe they were
mean,
just entirely focusing on Squadron?
to be fair, I think it's pretty obvious, right? Because if you look at this year's momentum compared to last year, now of course it's in arrears, right? Because the dev work that they're releasing for Invictus, for example, like that raid, they probably worked on that for like a year, right? Probably at minimum, somewhere around there, right?
Mm.
So in 2024, they probably made a big push for Squadron to then get it into like a 2025 state to get it nice and polished. Let's get everyone there so we can release it in 26, take some more people off of that, put them into like engineering work. Because we're seeing a lot of things get ported over, right?
Yeah.
A lot of the FPS stuff is getting ported over now. Like that ladder mechanic, for example, I believe is a Squadron mechanic that they put
Even the
in
super heavy
last year.
armor, the
The
Titan
super
suit.
heavy armor, exactly. That's coming now. That's coming over, right? So there's a lot of things that are coming over from Squadron that is just trickling it on in. Vulcan, right? Vulcan is another one, another good example of that. So, in summary, I think last year, I think they did the macro very well. The macro very well. I can log in, I can play the game. It sounds silly saying that out loud, right? It's kind of so like, congratulations, you guys did the basics right.
Yay.
But for us, I mean, you guys have been, some of you guys, you have been around much longer than I have. I've only been playing this game since 2022, right? So only been around for 4 years, but even then, there's a ginormous difference between 2022 and now. And even when I came back in 24 CitizenCon, of course, saw the Squadron trailer, said, I'm locking back in.
Yeah.
Even from then to any point last year, you could say is an insane difference. And then from last year to last patch, last week, the current patch that we're in now, is another insane difference. So I think their momentum, they keep this momentum up. I was worried that we'll see 1.0 2030, 2031, 2032. I think if they keep this momentum up, I don't think it's insane to say end of 27 into 28, somewhere in that time frame.
Clip it.
Because their momentum, yeah, you can clip that. I'm comfortable being wrong there. I think that's a little bit insane, but their momentum has been so strong. If they keep it up, you could see it. If they can get the bugs under control, is another situation, right? Like, what kind of, how polished do you want it going into 1.0, right? Like, if you
Yeah.
want it super polished, that will obviously extend out. But if it's just here's the features, and then in beta, which is what I'm going to call 1.0, is basically beta, is we're gonna make everything pretty buttoned up.
We'll see.
Long-winded answer to your question, but
No, but I
that's
think
that's my idea.
I would agree with you. I mean, not about the timeline. Sorry. I still think it's going to be the
That's
29,
very
30
aggressive.
kind of thing.
Yeah.
I hope, honestly. I think if they're releasing 1.0 in 2028, I'm probably going to be disappointed by the features. But again, another conversation. I agree, though. I think all signs from this are pointing to like a pretty solid future for the game and a good present as far as the direction they're going in. If anything, it makes me feel a little bit better. I mean, it was great to talk to you about this. It makes you feel better, though, to see some of the action that's going on between the investors and the game company, because we are always going to be driven by our passion for a space game. We're always going to be of the mindset of, if nobody else is doing it as well, then we'll be here, right? I don't know about you, but I think a lot of other folks are like, hey, if somebody else could do the first person multiplayer, fly around space, walk around your ships, go into dungeons, that kind of thing, Star Citizen would lose the market. But what I'm seeing here is that not only are we still hooked to that and it's still working, but financially, they're clearly still doing stuff that is bringing confidence to people who are professionally in that world. Maybe they're still, running really, really tight margins. One of the things in 2024 was that like their operating wages were higher than their revenue, so they had to depend on some of the UK tax credits to help pay off everything. These sorts of things are, that's something to take notice of. But the
Yeah,
investors seem to understand it.
Because yeah, like that tax credit thing, you use your tools necessary to keep your company afloat, to pay
Mhm.
your employees, to get everything going, right? So like again, that tax credit, I quickly researched that tax credit, by the way. The one that they're under, I believe, goes to 27, and then there's a new one on top of that. I don't know which one. I believe they're using the old one, and then they'll probably transfer over to the new one. But I think that's in perpetuity.
Mm.
Don't quote me on that, but I think they can. I think that they can use it. We'll find out when the 25 releases. Again, I'm not a British expert at all in these things, so and it was quick research. So if you know more, leave a comment to correct me.
Oh, we're gonna love the comments on this one.
Oh yeah, yeah. Skylark, what are you talking about? They hired more. But yeah, I agree. I mean, for me too, it's like I'm a big Bethesda fan. I mean, I have the lore books behind me for Elder Scrolls. I go to bed every night listening to Elder Scrolls lore. That's my
Nice.
little nerd thing. I love it, dude. I love the Elder Scrolls. I played Destiny for thousands of hours. I probably have 10K hours in that game. And see, Star Citizen is what I wish Destiny was. I remember going into Destiny the first day and going, "Why can't I fly my ship? This sucks. This is not what I thought about."
Yeah.
And now I get to fly in Idris every day doing giant fleet battles, and that is so cool. Like
It's
that is
sick.
my dream right there.
You
It's so
can't
cool,
do
dude.
it
It's so
anywhere else.
sick.
It's not hard to get.
Yeah. And if it was easy, everyone would have done it. Starfield, perfect example. If it was easy, Todd would have done it. Todd always does it.
Bro, now you're just asking for the comments. I didn't bring up Starfield.
No Man's Sky. No, I'm kidding.
Oh boy, yeah, no, we
No,
can
but
just
it's
go down the list.
But objectively, it's a good point, right? If it was easy, if what CIG were doing was easy, it would have been done already. How many
Yeah.
FPS arcade games are out there? I'm not saying developing those are easy, but it's a lot easier than developing a space game, right?
There are
So
easier ways to make money making a
there are
video game. That's for
a
sure.
lot easier ways to make money. Yeah.
Well, I think we've just about touched on every topic here. Hopefully we didn't miss anything. If anybody's read the whole financial report, finds anything other besides this, put it down in the comments. We'll talk about it. But I appreciate you coming and talking with me, correcting my own knowledge on this so that I don't put out some other video that's not really saying at least somewhat accurate stuff. And I hope the audience, I hope you guys enjoyed hearing from somebody who's a little more professional about it, understands what we're reading, and got some good information from it. Thank you so much again for joining me. Any last thoughts?
I think I'm all right. I think I'm good. I think
Cool.
I'm good on last thoughts. Probably get myself in trouble with the comment section again.
That's the best part.
But
Well,
thanks for having me
folks-
on. The last thoughts is thanks for having me on. I appreciate it. And I do, in a serious note, I do think this is a important topic for people to know. So,
Yeah.
And it's not as digestible or easy to understand as Shiny Ship is in this stage of development, right?
Yeah.
Which is easier to understand than boring 51-page PDF files.
It's a crowd-funded game from our crowdfunding, and I think we should at least somewhat try to understand what's going on with it, even if it's as a basic level. The more educated the community is around Star Citizen, the better the game's going to be. So
100%.
I hope this helped. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Thank you all for listening to our second episode of the week. I hope you've been enjoying the launch sequence. You can check all the episodes out. We have a new guest on every week, and we do talk about some interesting stuff. It's not just money. Sometimes it's actual games. So check that out. Leave a review on Spotify if you want. Check out all the different platforms you might find it on for your morning commutes if you don't like YouTube. And thank you all for joining me. I'll see you all next week.